This is Nevern Cross. Could be around 1,000 years old. In the same churchyard is this standing stone, possibly the original lay marker stone. It verifies the cross as the real McCoy, as this stone is also exceptional low erosion material. Everything else here is eroding back as normal, around 5 times faster or more. This cross has suffered only microscopic, even erosion every century. No flaking, breaking or cracking. It is said to be made of dolerite bluestone. In 1923, Herbert Thomas sourced the Stonehenge Bluestones as dolerite stone, generally to the Preseli Hills around Kenmenin. This post-erosion is also even and slow. Let's try and source some of this super low erosion, non-flaking bluestone. Winter solstice in the Preseli Hills. Just before daybreak. There's an information panel stuck to a rock in a lay-by. Found this in the dark. I reckon blasting has made it weaker. A stone circle of small stones at sunrise. Here are some field stones near the circle. I reached in and instantly broke a piece off one. These similar sized ancient circle stones show no evidence of recent erosion or weakness, despite the lichen. Lichen damages stone, but not Stonehenge. Here's some bigger boulders that have probably rolled or slid down from the hill. The broken off pieces are less washed smooth than the field stones. Up the hill to the cairns. Here's a bigger one, decrepit. This might be cairn beaker. This is better rock. The smaller pieces are not so prone to degrading. However, the big pieces want to be small pieces. I took an erosion sample. Here's a stone circle. Well, it's some of these cairn rocks in a circle. Ordnance Survey haven't listed it, which is a sign that it's modern, but it also means that I'm not sure where I am in this fog. Here's another cairn. And another. Bigger chunks, less prone to splitting. Extraction or something going on here. Well, it does look like the best stuff so far for staying together. This is cairn Gweedog. Looks like the same sort of stuff. This cairn has been recently analytically linked to many of the bluestones of Stonehenge. It is also known for its ringing stones. When I first looked at the map, I instantly noticed this alignment. Through a gate, cairn Gweedog, chapel. I couldn't find any other alignments with any other cairns, even using a ruler. New Stone Age man must have thought very highly of this place in order to use it as a starting point for an alignment. There are a lot of small bits, which isn't a good sign, but there are some big angular looking pieces. My eyes were drawn to a reddish, recumbent, megalith looking rock, which at chest height was ideal for examination. I knocked out a protruding, eroding sample from this crevice, where it was being held in a pinch. After walking back up the hill, I found another cairn and noticed a significant difference. These rocks, like the ones from earlier, had erosion in the cracks. Thousands of years of weathering has caused a void to appear. At cairn Gweedog, I had been looking at clean cracks that looked like they could have been stuck back together. Have we found the material which arose much slower than the standard stone? The source of Nevern Cross and the Stonehenge Bluestones? This is a long barrow that was undressed a few hundred years ago. This local rock is good and hard, possibly the best I have seen so far today. Man was moving large stones around here before the new Stone Age. There's some very slight recent delamination here and there. It's got a few thousand years in it. If it was left as a tomb, it might last forever. And on to St. David's. Some steps. Here are the 3 samples that I took on that shortest day. The small sample was from the fieldstone near the circle. The cairn beaker sample is fairly stable. The circle one is worse. The cairn Gweedog sample has 2 edges that are crumbly to touch, but otherwise is fairly stable. It was like the red megalith had this piece sticking out of it horizontally to lure in and put off stonemasons from this cairn. First freeze to remove loose bits. Quick thaw. No bits to speak of. Separate. Slow thaw. Refreeze. Quick thaw. After 5 freezes, quite a lot of chunks from cairn beaker, a few chunks from the fieldstone. I expected more. Nothing really from cairn Gweedog, just speckles of dirt. It seems that the crumbly sides are not affected by this test. Well, sandstone has an ability to stay together, despite the grains being loose to the touch. It must be some sort of force. After 10 freezes, a bit more from beaker and the fieldstone, lots of red chunks, Some translucent crystals have come off the Guidog sample, but no stone chunks. There are no crystals from the other two samples, just solid bits of stone. The two sides of the Cairn Guidog sample are still very crumbly to the touch. The fieldstone sample is now very weak overall. The Cairn Beaker sample has now stabilised and is solid. In conclusion, the Cairn Guidog stone could be bonded together differently from the rest of the cairns on the Preseli Hills. I would like to know if a bedrock sample taken from underneath Cairn Guidog is the same material. A month later, I returned. Like my samples, this area had been subject to a lot of freezing and thawing. The fieldstones, they have deteriorated. This stone is just a few paces from the circle. Very poor. The circle, no evidence of erosion. Close by are two much larger standing stones. One of them has some minor signs of recent erosion. This sharp edge is abnormal for a circle stone. Here's a dated stone. Sorry, Waldo. Quarried, I reckon. I walked straight up to it and broke pieces off. There is also erosion on this sharp edge. Here's a solid looking rock, nice and smooth. Here's a rock that looks like it's come halfway down the hillside. There was quite a lot of force to snap that bit off. Vandalism. 2 months later, here's that piece. I'm leaving it outside to see how long it takes to heal, for the red marks to disappear. But as it's the scab, it might not. Cairn Guidog. There's the red one. This stuff is different. Here's some erosionless cracks. As I clambered over it, I noticed this. So, is this the source of Nevern Cross and the Stonehenge Bluestones? No. This is the worst stone on the hills. This ringing piece is delaminating. Almost every piece I checked was crumbling or splintering somewhere. The crevice that I took the sample from has a loose surface layer. When I came to put the sample back, it wouldn't fit. In 34 days, the stone had morphed in shape and the gap had closed up by a couple of millimeters. The reason why there is no erosion in the cracks is because they are splits, and this cairn is breaking up much quicker than the other cairns. If this cairn is breaking up faster than the others, does it mean that it's not as old? I thought this was the one that had the quarrying on it. I walked around it twice but couldn't find it. I walked around quickly examining samples and finding recent erosion. Some of these cairns could do with a nameplate. This sort of table was good, but it's not long enough for Nevern Cross, and not every stone tells its secrets. And you have to find a whole cairn or batch that's got a special quality. I selected this nice oblong piece and it instantly failed. Ken Menwin was possibly a winner of the Best Stuff Up Here competition. Ken Beaker was better, but there were too many small pieces. The material that the Stonehenge Bluestones and Nevern Cross is made from was not sourced as rock from these hills. They could, however, have been sourced from local standing stones. A nearby chapel has an old doorway. This looks like the stuff that I've been looking at all morning. Looks like the scab isn't going to heal over. Looking at more modern monuments shows us some wares of the British quarries. Placed rocks often contain mixtures and crystal formations. This memorial has a glossy stone, which when left rough is disappointing. It succumbs to lichen and moss, although they don't seem to like it much either. Here's glossy stone polished. Here's matte stone. I've been looking for that perfect mixture of the two. Here's one, but the crystal gloss and the matte are just not bonded well enough. This bit is about to go. This smooth even white is half glossy. It's good, especially when polished, but the delicate carved bits are losing their definition, and these specks came away when I wiped my hand over it. Stonehenge, spring equinox. First stone, a grey sarsen, Not sure. It's still a bit dark. Is this a recumbent bluestone post? It's grey and glossy. Looks like varnished sarsen. It's nothing like the rock on the Preseli Hills. That's all matte. Next one the same. I can see the bluestone in these, but it's all mashed up. It looks like a dolerite ready meal that's exploded in its container in a microwave oven. Red bits are not delamination. Inside that's on the outside. The groove post is evenly eroded. It's the same wear as Nevern Cross, just 5 times as old. This bluestone was worked flat, front and back, and kept its shape. It's like 25% of the stone equivalent of epoxy resin has been blended in these bluestones. Herbert Thomas was correct. Linking this stuff to the Preseli Hills was a scientific feat. Practical people, such as craftsmen, must have argued it wasn't. The sarsen stones were not the matte grey that I remember. On the surface there are patches of a similar clear crystally sort of glue. The way I look at it is, the closest thing that I have seen to these Stonehenge Bluestones is the Stonehenge sarsens. I call it igneous rock. Looking at the sarsens, from a distance I had underestimated the amount of erosion this monument has suffered. The material has no sharp edges, despite being low erosion. The sharp edges on the graffiti has eroded away. You can't tell the erosion from the vandalism. The inside of the graffiti is still white. The grey skin hasn't grown back. I checked the recumbent stones and kept finding these balls of white, which had a feel of being slightly organic. They were not sharp-edged. Most of them were devoid of grey coating. This one is not part of the circle. In a crevice on the heel stone, I found some tiny fragments of the white. Found more white balls on more recumbent sarsens. From a distance, the altar stone looked just like a normal bit of rock. On the edge, I found what looked like bits of it. My friend told me that the stones felt warm. This is also said about tar steps. I would like a digital thermometer, although it's such an inexact science. I once saw an air pollution detector in Salisbury that was right next to the side of the road where the parking restrictions had changed. Monitoring air pollution, it's called. The recumbent sarsens of Stonehenge are eroding a little. The uprights less, and some aren't. Stonehenge sarsen erosion can be accounted for by grain, varying material quality from stone to stone and throughout each stone, and already being there. Using the same erosion techniques, I found 0% erosion on the Avery stones since their re-erection, meaning that they are in better original condition. A few miles away is Yarbury Castle. It's an Iron Age hill fort. There are 2 posts on top of the ramparts, put there 2,000 years ago. This one is being harmed slightly by the lichen. The other is shrinking vertically. Inside there is a short, well-protected standing stone. Some sharp edges. No evidence of recent erosion. Here are some extra small witches' stones. I found every one of them individually and in a different place. I have other collections. The other day I saw one lying in the mud, but someone else picked it up and handed it to me. That's the closest I've come to finding one myself. I'm not a real clay pipe collector, not much of a photographer either. Next time, yet another archaeologist goes looking for the source of the Stonehenge Bluestones.